though and realized the price floor at 15. And so I need to kind of recalculate some of my math.
Okay, because you were stuck on the price ceiling or idea or whatever.
Yeah, well, I was trying to understand like the producer surplus, like how to try and figure that out with the price floor.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And who was our other participant with you? I've forgotten. It was. It was who?
Miles.
No. I mean, I had to put 2 people on 16.
It was me, but I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I didn't solve it.
Okay. Would you have? Is there a reason why? I mean, like at this point in time, hopefully you worked on enough. You have like what did I do wrong? What was like, what's step number 1? That kind of stuff. Like, what would you do first on this one, Celine?
I would draw the graph, and then I would do the little triangle for the consumer surplus, so producer surplus. But yeah, I just didn't have enough time to finish up. Okay.
Well, so I always think drawing a picture is a really good way to start all of these problems, just to be clear. But there's also another next step, and I don't know, Stephen, do you know what that next step is?
No, I do not.
Okay, on all the price control problems, the first thing that you have to do is you have to calculate the equilibrium for the market you're dealing with, or the equilibrium price, right? Because we don't know if this price is binding or not.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I did that then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, if you start to add the details on your graphs, Celine, you'll kind of see that, that looks like it's important to do. But as a matter of course, like the first thing you should always do is compute the equilibrium price to find whether or not the price control you're talking about is binding. So what did you get for the equilibrium price, Stephen?
28.
28. And what do you think, Celine? Does the equilibrium price of 28 sound correct to you?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody agrees that it's 28. So, okay. So explain the calculation to me, Stephen, that you did.
So once I found the equilibrium,
the equilibrium price?
Yeah, the equilibrium price.
Okay, but explain that calculation to me.
I just plugged 15 into each equation.
But that's not the equilibrium price. The equilibrium price is the equilibrium market price. Right? You are kind of like solving for the quantity. You understand what I'm saying, right? No? Okay, let's do this. New share, whiteboard, share. So I think Celine was just going along. And Celine, you can't do that. You have to be an independent source of knowledge for us. It's like, whatever Stephen says, I'm okay with. Okay. So are you both with me? Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen? Okay. So, and you can see my whiteboard?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's demand, right? So I'm just drawing the market without the price control involved, their supply, and then where they cross, there should be an equilibrium price. This is what the market would go to in the absence of any regulation, right? And an equilibrium quantity. And so I'm saying, even though the question doesn't ask for it, you need to know P star to know whether or not the price control is binding or not. You don't find P star, then you're kind of dust, right? And you know what the two equations are. Do you know how to find P star, Stephen?
Set the two equations to each other.
Yeah, right. And Celine?
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, but do you well, hey.
Do I know how to do it?
You ought to know how to do it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So yeah, you set the two equations equal to one another, right? And in our case, do you guys remember what the two equations were? You should have them written down.
Yeah, it's PB equals 144 minus 3 QV, and then
right.
PV is equal to 4 plus 2 QV.
Yeah. So if I put those equal together, equal to one another, right? I'll end up with
28.
4. What?
If you set them equal to each other, I got 28.
28. Well, okay. Well, let's because you said you got 28 in a different way. So let's take a look at this. PB is equal to 144 minus, what did you say? 3 QB. And then our supply equation is PV is equal to 4 plus 2.
Yeah, 2
QB. Okay. So in equilibrium, PV is equal to PB and QV is equal to QB. So we can kind of do our next step here, and it should look like this. Right. If I set those equal to one another, I'll end up on one side of the equation with 140, right, is equal to 5Q generally, right? And yeah, so, and 140 divided by 5 is going to be 28 is equal to Q star, right, Stephen?
Correct.
But that's Q star, right?
Right.
We don't need Q star, do we?
Yes. Because it gives us the height.
No, I mean, maybe we need it, but to find out if the price regulation is binding or not, we need P star. Right? Because remember, the whole binding thing is this. I'm gonna draw from, I've got a price regulation here, right? Can you see my orange line?
Yes.
Right? Is my price regulation down here below the equilibrium price, above the equilibrium price? I don't know until I know P star. Right? Can you see I'm moving it around?
Right.
So I need P star to get this problem started. Because I don't know where to put my orange line in the diagram relative to P star. Do you see? It's above the equilibrium or below?
Below.
Well, did you just calculate P star?
Yeah.
Which is what?
P star is 60.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Celine. Okay. So do you see what we're talking about, Stephen?
Yeah.
Right. So now I can put P star in at 60. Let me kind of get this there. And our price regulation comes in at what? What was it? It was at 44?
It was 15.
Oh, it was 15. So it was like way down here. Right. So now I'll put here. And it was a price ceiling or a price floor.
Price floor.
Okay, so I'll put a little, because I don't have the little character that they use on my keyboard anywhere that I can see. So I'll put a little tilde. Well, well, it looks more like a floor. It looks like a floor, right? So, and now the price floor, right, just says what? The price can't drop below that level, right?
Correct.
So you follow, right? And so let's see. So let's start out at some random high price up here. And you tell me price is going down. Where should the price stop?
It should have stopped on the supply line.
Well, it's a random high price. Maybe I'm drawing it in the wrong place. So maybe put it over here. Where should it stop? It should stop at the equilibrium, right? And the equilibrium is above the price ceiling. So this is an example of, the price floor. This is an example of a non-binding price floor. What's an example of a price floor? Real world, Stephen.
Minimum wage.
Yeah, and this is actually perfect for our example, right? Because it turned out to be 15, right? This means it's 15, right? Well, if the market equilibrium wage, who makes $60 an hour?
First responders.
Okay, so this is the market for, emergency medical personnel, not including doctors, right? Let's just say, right? We can throw firefighters in there, right? Is a $15 an hour minimum wage gonna change what EMTs get paid directly? No. I mean, you could make some weird argument about inflation and other people getting paid more and maybe they'll get bumped up or whatever. But the first level analysis is I'm already making $60 an hour, right? If you pass a $15 minimum wage, it's not going to change anything for me, right? So this is the demand for people in a skilled labor market like EMTs and the supply of people in a skilled labor market, and it already has an equilibrium wage that's higher than the price floor, so it's not going to do anything, right? So if you ask me, what is producer surplus in this case, then the producer surplus generated by the market in this context should just be the regular producer surplus, right? Maybe which is this pink triangle here, right? I mean, I know I dipped below the supply line a little bit, but. So let's go back to the question here. And it says, how much producer surplus is there? Well, this should just match up with the regular producer surplus, right?
Right.
Because this price floor is non-binding. So, it doesn't affect anything. So in this case, we can kind of do it really quickly. We knew the equilibrium price was 60, and here the intercept of the supply curve is 4. So it's 60 minus 4, which is 56, right? times the height of that triangle, which is just the equilibrium quantity. So 56 times 28 divided by 2. So that's 14 times 56. I can kind of almost do it in my head. Because 56 times 10 is 560. And 56 times 4 is 224. So 560 plus 224 is 784 is what I get. What do you get?
Yeah, I got that. 784.
Guess what? And Celine already had this calculated, right, Celine?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, the exams are coming up, everybody. You're like, when is our first exam going to be? Probably next Thursday. Are you guys freaking out yet?
A little.
Yeah. Do freak out. Just enough to study for it. Actually, what I'm planning for next Thursday is a sample exam. It's going to count for the amount of a homework, but just to walk you guys through the exam taking process, and then probably the week after that we'll have a real exam. So you guys probably have 2 weeks ish. Okay.
And so since it's asking for producer surplus, that's why we only worry about the supply side of the equation, correct?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but by definition, producer surplus is the area below the price that producers now, and obviously, okay, you have to watch those videos.
Yeah, yeah, I've been watching them, and that's why.
But
because I remember consumer surplus is usually above the your equilibrium.
Yeah. But just as a quick little review, the best way in this class to get producer surplus is an area. It's the area below the price sellers receive, and then I put a little comma there, right? Above the supply curve and to the left of the quantity sold. So you have to, I mean, you understand what I'm saying, right? Because if I take my little arrow here, if I can grab it, and I say, oh, not that one here, and I say, okay, what's the area that's below the price? Well, they're receiving a price of 70. Now, I don't have it drawn only because it gets kind of a little bit cluttered on the diagram if I like mark every single thing. But yeah, I mean, there's like a line here, right, that represents the price that's paid for all the units that are sold. You see my little black line there?
Yeah.
And so if I say, okay, well, my little verbal definition of producer surplus tells me I'm talking about an area that's below this, right? And it's above the supply line, and it's to the left of the quantity that's sold. And in this example, sellers are selling the equilibrium quantity. There we go. So it's over there. So you see these three directions point to the pink area, right?
Right.
So it's just as simple as that. I mean, and if you go through those lectures in a little bit more detail, then carefully, then you'll see that producer surplus, remember the supply curve represents the cost, we call it the marginal cost, but in plain language, it's the cost of producing each of the units, right? So sellers are, and I'll use my little spotlight thing here. In any given example, right? Let's say this unit here, a seller is paying this cost, the height associated with that quantity, and they're receiving this price. So that this distance in between for that particular unit represents what you and I would probably call a profit. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
They paid this cost, which is something like, I don't know what it is. I mean, based on the way our graph is, it's like $20 for, we said that there were 28 units. This is probably like the 14th unit produced, has a cost of like $20, and they sell it for 60. And so the distance between 20 and 60 is 40. They make like a $40 profit, right? On that unit.
Right.
And then for all these units, they're making some profit. And we call that producer surplus. And if you listen to the lectures carefully, you'll see that producer surplus is not exactly profit. But what is true is that when producer surplus increases by an amount of money, like producer surplus increases $1, profits also increase dollar for dollar with producer surplus. So even though producer surplus is not profit, it's very close to profit. Okay. And so, yeah, this basically, this is producer surplus. It's like the profits the sellers are making. Like I said, it's a useful lie to think of them as profits. Okay, Stephen?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now let's quickly go back to, because we were talking about number 14. Okay, so we had Ruben and Miles here. And do you guys actually, so this is pretty closely linked, right? So Miles, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think the answer to this is now?
So for the difference in producer surplus for this one, I thought it was 753.75.
Well, okay, we'll go. Remember our analysis, we were talking all about this, right? The price floor is non-binding, right? So it does nothing.
Oh, all right.
I mean, that's what we were just talking about, right?
Yeah, it's lower, yeah.
Yeah, so if it's non-binding, it does nothing. So the producer surplus for this, call it an ineffective, maybe that's a better word than binding or non-binding, but the language in our discipline is binding versus non-binding. So you got to know that. But, let's say a defunct, do you have another word? What's the word that people use these days for like when something is fake? They just use fake. That's boring. You know what they used to, when I was growing up, Miles, you know what we used to say?
No.
Bogus. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bogus price floor, right? It doesn't do anything. What word do you like for fake?
I don't know. I probably just use fake, to be honest.
See, that's boring. What about you, Ruben?
Yeah, so because the price floor is non-binding, there is no change.
Okay, yeah. Do you have a word you like to use for fake?
No, I guess just false.
False. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a false price floor. That's a good word too. But you get it? So the change is zero. like Ruben said. Good job, Ruben. Do you get it, Miles?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I mean, the point of this, and it depends, because Ignition will change the numbers around, and sometimes they'll be bogus and sometimes they won't. I think it's probably like a 1 in 4 that they flip from being binding to non-binding. So you have to check, but yeah, I mean, it's in one sense, it's kind of like a trick question, right? Because the price floor is a false price floor. It doesn't do anything. Okay. Okay. So we did 14 and we did 15, and I'm going to stop the recording. Remember, we have those lectures on our playlist about price control. So please watch those if you haven't. They'll help you with the homework, maybe indirectly. Okay.